Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Eddie Jennings from EJSLLC.com. This video is my final practice session for the Red Hat Certified Specialist in Linux Diagnostics and Troubleshooting exam EX342. Before I dive in, I want to thank returning subscribers for watching another video, as well as invite anyone who's watching, if you haven't subscribed yet, to click the subscribe button and ring the bell when you do, so you can be notified of when new content comes available. A reminder that this, as well as all of my other videos in this series, are my practice sessions for the exam. My exam is about 4 days away, so I'm going through all of the posted objectives from Red Hat, and I'm trying to either explain the concepts about the objective or do some exercises related to the objective. And at the end of the video, I'll do a self-assessment, and hopefully I'll feel confident with the objective. And if not, I still have a couple more days to do some brushing up to get some information back to the front side of my head to be ready for the exam. That being said, these should not be used as tutorials or considered authoritative information. I am still learning myself, and really these are kind of tailored for me, and it is just an opportunity for me to take stock of, what do I think I know, and I'm still learning. I try to have the information accurate because hopefully at this point I have not learned inaccurate information, but because of all these things, these shouldn't be used as tutorials or used as authoritative information. So the question becomes, why am I putting this out on the internet? Well, it's my hope that others that are working with this exam might see what I do as a part of my final preparation ritual, for lack of a better phrase, for the exam, and that might inspire you to create some things on your own to do for your own preparation, or see how I approach these objectives when I'm doing my final review, and that might give you an idea of how to approach stuff for yourself. But getting to it, I've finally made it to the bottom of the list. This list feels like it's been pretty long. I think it is relatively long compared to some other exams. But within the gather information to aid third-party investigation of issues, we're going to compile and execute SystemTap modules. These are actually kind of nifty. And I've really kind of scratched the surface with them with this, but if you were a kernel developer or even not a kernel developer, but a person that has really dug into how the kernel functions and such, and maybe you're a system administrator like me, but you have far more experience dealing with low-level kernel problems or just other performance problems than I have. I mean, I obviously have some experience, but I don't consider myself a master by any means. These can be fairly useful for you. So let me go into the terminal. I think for the last video, we'll pick on lab servers 4 and 4. We'll do 3 and 4. 3 does not get a whole lot of love. So lab server 3. So kind of like Valgrind with the memory check stuff, the SystemTap is a whole framework of things. So let's install. Of course, I'll need to use sudo as root. SystemTap. I just remembered something from Crash Dumps. The sysrq, I think you can download that kernel documentation package, and that'll have documentation in there of the different types of sysrq things you can send. I was using crash just to crash the system, but M for memory and several other different things you can do. How about that? I was thinking I had to have the debug repository for kernel devel or kernel devel for development. But this is going to install a ton of Perl stuff, several things for compiling C applications, and then of course SystemTap itself, because what you're going to be doing is basically creating a kernel module to gather specific information. And that kernel module is going to be specific to the system that you're creating it on and creating it for. All right, so what we're going to do, I think it's in user share. Yeah, and then we have examples. All right, so I doubt we're going to be writing our own SystemTap modules, but rather we will be taking some of the multitude of examples and creating kernel modules out of them. Now, I'm going to ls network, and there are these STP scripts. There's a number of different things that they can do. For example, let's less the nettop STP script. And so what this is going to be doing, and of course I can't read everything that a SysTap script is doing, but it's looking like it's going to be printing information that is going to include how much data is being transmitted and how much data is being received by, I would imagine, just the system in general. I don't know if it's going to break it down by network interface. And there's all sorts of others. Let's ls process, see what's under there. I mean, let's see what wait for time does. So process wait for time.stp. This gives us a little bit of information about what it's going to show us. What I imagine is going to happen is on the exam, we will be asked, we'll probably be presented with this type of thing is being slowed, such as like the NICs are being pegged for network traffic. And so we need you to compile a SystemTap module that'll help us, get the right information to troubleshoot the problem. It'll be something kind of like that. Now, of course, I don't know. And even if I did, I couldn't tell you, but that's kind of my guess as to what would need to happen. So you can run a SystemTap module on your own, We'll do SystemTap, or not SystemTap, SysTap. Did I not? Oh, STAP is what I want. Okay, I'm not going crazy. I know that there's something to run, and we will do the name of it. So, what was that name of network? What did we look at? NetTop. Yeah, so we'll do STAP, NetTop. This should just run it. Okay. So we have a problem here. I see. Yep. So the current kernel we have is 5530, but I'll bet there's a new kernel available. And so when it downloaded the kernel devil package, it got it for the current, let's see, RPM, grep. Yeah, see, 553.32. So we actually need to download this specific development kernel, because when you're doing this, you're basically compiling a kernel module and running it is what's happening with this. So let's install the appropriate development kernel. Shouldn't take too long to do. And actually, while this is installing, kind of a note of real world, I haven't had an opportunity or a need to use this yet in my current job. But if you did this, you would probably create the kernel module on a test system, because just running this kernel module, supposedly there is a security risk, and I could possibly see that, because I mean, this is low level getting system information that you're just sort of running in real time, or maybe running as a user that you don't want that to run as. Not 100% sure of exactly what the risk is. If you use this all the time and know, feel free to put that in the comments. I'm sure people would be curious, but just when I've read, kind of the best practice is you would compile these on a different system and then just install the kernel module onto your production system to run. You wouldn't do the compilation on the production system, which means whatever development system that you're using to compile these needs to have the same running kernel as the current system. So that's installed. Let's try to run this again and see what happens. I need to tell it .stp. Oh, I need to give it the full path. Yep. So, well, this is no fun. Let me try this again. Let me do SystemTap-V or SysTap-V. That might show us, yeah, because there's different passes. Pass 1, 2, I think, and 3 are like the compilation pieces. 4 is what will spit out the kernel module, and 5 is what will actually run it. All right, so maybe that's not the best one to use. What I'll do, actually, I'm going to get rid of this. DNF remove. So I wonder if that's causing problems. All right, let's try to run this again, just to see if that made a difference. Nope. All right, so that one failed. Let's see if there's one that will work. It's an IO, and we will try the one related to IO stats. So IO stats.stp. Now we're getting a little further. So right now it's doing the compilation of this. And I'm willing to bet that's probably where the security risk comes from, is you have these temp files. All right, so it compiled it. It turned it into a kernel module named this, and has started the probe. It's not giving us anything, because there's no I/O stuff going on. So let me go back into lab server 1, and let's make some disk activity happen. I'll become root here, dd if dev 0 of test bs. We'll do 10 megabyte count 1,000. Are we getting anything? Nope. Okay. All right. So well, no, we did get some stuff. That's kind of neat. I was expecting that to show output there. And I'll stop this. So let's say that we wanted to actually make this a module to put onto another system. So I'm actually going to go back to root. And what we would do is, I like that V to show us what's going on. We will tell it to stop at pass 4. And let me take a look at the man for this. I can't remember if it's -M or -N. I think it's -M for the module name. Yeah. All right. So we will do STAP-V. We're going to stop with the 4th pass because we don't want to run this. We're just wanting to make the kernel module. I'm going to call it iostat.ko and user share STAP or SystemTap examples iostat dot stats plural .stp. There's a text file. Will probably give us some information about it too. But let's grab this. No, I did iostat.ko. All right, so it's made our kernel module. And so what we can do here is we're going to SCP this on lab. Oh, of course it didn't show the disk thing. I went on lab server 1 and I was playing with lab server 3. Grumble. Well, let's say that we wanted to put this on lab server 1, and while I'm here as root, let me go ahead and set a root password. All right, so we're going to SCP this over to root at lab server 3. Well, what am I doing? Lab server 1. Yeah, this is what's 2251. Yeah, this is why I shouldn't do these this late, because I start making mistakes. Why you should be rested for your exam, so you don't make dumb mistakes like this on your exam. There we go. Okay. So where we're going to ultimately put this file is going to be in a kernel modules directory for SystemTap. So let us look, let me think, usr lib modules. We would have to do one for the kernel that we're using. And we're on 30. I'm sure I could probably just substitute uname-r. I think we make a directory called SystemTap, and then we dump the module into that. What I'm trying to look for is if this needs to be executable. No. I wonder if I actually have to put it in XZ. Huh. I guess I don't necessarily have to do that. This will be something that I'm going to review again with my actual training materials before the exam to see if there's other little bits about SystemTap, in particular just executing it, that we need. So I've put it in there. So I guess we go to etc modprobe.d and was it mod info? I couldn't find that module. This time I'm going to cheat. Let's see. Let's give it the full path. I'm just curious to see if mod info will work. Okay, so it is able to read that. So I guess what I can do, let's see what I'm doing. This is because I don't have a text document open at the moment. All right, so I'm going to echo options this into iostat.conf. There's a mod probe. I thought it was -P that I wanted. Let's see what happens. Yeah, that's what I thought. I need to tell it something to do. I know it can reboot the system, but well, this is telling me either my brain's too tired or I need to review some kernel module stuff as well before my exam, because this is not, I mean, of course, like I said, I can reboot the system, but there has to be a way to, let's do this, mod probe -A. Oh, that didn't do what I wanted. So yeah, I'm going to need to review how to manually pull stuff that's in modprobe.d and just make it work. So let's do this. We're going to reboot this server. And while that's happening, I'm actually going to watch it on the command line, see if it will actually boot. All right, so it looks like it booted. Let's go back into lab server 1. Oh, ls mod is what I want. I was trying to find the, list all the modules that are loaded. Let's grep. Okay, so I don't see anything for my little IO stat. So this is something that I need to review. So assessment for compile and execute SystemTap modules. Compilation, yes. Execute, no. That is a fail. I can execute it, STAP command, but I get the feeling one of the things on the exam is going to be make the SystemTap module and make it to where it's going to run with the rest of the kernel modules. So that's something either, even if that's not in some of my actual training materials, I need to dig into some Red Hat documentation on. So, I think of all these objectives, this has been my first that's been more of a more on the fail side than the pass side, but I just want you to do these ahead of time. I got 4 days. Of course, you're generally not going to learn anything new a week before the exam, but I have a feeling there's some obvious thing that I'm not getting that I need to know, and I think it's reasonable I could get that. Now, if I had to practice all of the objectives in the next 4 days to learn everything, I'm sunk. But I think for this, I'll be able to get that figured out. So if you found the video useful or any of these in the series useful, make sure you do click like. I want to thank returning subscribers for watching another video, and I also want to invite anyone who's watching, if you haven't subscribed, to click the subscribe button, ring the bell when you do so you know when new content comes available. If I am successful with this exam, this will be the last in my RHCA journaling. Yeah, my brain and mouth aren't working too well right now at 11:01, but I'll be finished with RHCA, and then we'll have time to actually start putting these out on the internet. So if you've rung the bell, you'll know when they'll be available. As always, thank you for taking the time to watch, and I will see you the next time.